crispy chicken is from a taco place.
This crispy chicken is from a taco place?
The taco place?
Taco place. It comes in a burrito, too?
From your taco place, it's also a chicken place that's also a taco place.
Check out the all-new Blue and Orange store at the Boise State Hall of Fame. The Blue and Orange store has your best game day gear. We're talking jerseys, hats, bumper stickers, car flags, more than 4,000 hats on the hat wall. If you want the best Boise State gear, make sure you check out the Blue and Orange store online at theblueandorangestore.com or the all-new Blue and Orange store down at the Boise State Allen Noble Hall of Fame.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. It's the best time to trade in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV with the room to haul your payload or playload. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Bronco fans, the new Boise State trading cards are here, and you can only get them at Jackson's.
Start collecting them today.
Jackson's, let's go!
And final blade of grass. Done. And done. Who knew it'd take 2,007 man-hours to paint 47,962,053 blades of grass? Smells like game day. Whoa, it's not dry yet.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live is the only daily show that talks nothing but Boise State sports. And we do it with you. Give us your comments or questions in the ICCU YouTube chat. Or leave us a voicemail on the Signature Roofing voice inbox at speakpipe.com/BNN. BNN Live is presented by our title sponsor, RoadPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, and our major sponsors, Jackson's, Taco Bell, Idaho Central Credit Union, Lithia Ford of Boise, and the Blue and Orange Store. For more coverage of Boise State athletics, check out the all-new BroncoNationNews.com, now part of the 247 Sports family. Now, here's five-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Bronco Nation? Happy Wednesday to you here at Bronco Nation News and BroncoNationNews.com. My name is BJ Rains. We got Winston Venable, former Boise State all-time great linebacker, assistant coach, now doing great things in the NFLPA world as an agent and financial world, and excited to chat with him every Wednesday as we do here on Bronco Nation News Live. Winston, we got a fun show today. Going to talk some Boise State. We got some voicemails we're going to hear from some fans, and then coming up in a little bit, we're going to be joined live by the head coach at New Mexico, Jason Eck. So fun show talking Boise State today planned. How we doing?
Absolutely. I'm doing well, BJ. You know, little bittersweet weekend for me. You know, my best friend Tyler Shoemaker got married. We were able to check out a little Boise State Notre Dame action that didn't necessarily go the way we all wished it would, but it was nonetheless a great weekend. And like I said, a little bittersweet, but we're back after it today, man. And it's a new week.
New week, as I said every day this week, the sun continues to rise here in Boise, Idaho, man. And the team is, obviously a disappointing loss, 3-2, not the record that anybody wanted. But in the end, you're back in conference play, Winston, 1-0 already with that road win over Air Force, and going to be favorites probably in every game the rest of the season here on their schedule, and a chance to still finish with a strong season, strong record. I know some folks, at this point it's CFP or bust, and I get that. Can't change that for some folks, but still a chance to go, 10-2 in the regular season, win that Mountain West championship, 11-2. They could three-peat the championship on the way out the door here to the Pac-12 and then go play in a bowl game and see what happens. But, I mean, still a chance at 12 wins this season if you win out. Still a lot of positives out there available for this team. So how do you kind of reset, man? The disappointment of losing the Notre Dame game, disappointment of knowing that the CFP is probably not much of an option at this point, and try to lock back in on the Mountain West?
Yeah, that's a great question, BJ. It's kind of it's a very sensitive one in the sense that, I think that there are these new goals and even Coach Danielson had put in the team room, getting to the CFP is a part of what they're trying to do. And, when you set that kind of goal, that there can be that disappointment, right? So guys are going to have to, reset and also understand that another big part of their goal is still very obtainable. And that's the Mountain West championship. Right. And I think, as long as the coaches do a really good job and the players, hold each other accountable to reset that focus, they got a lot of great things ahead. And you can't go out there and pull a Penn State, if you will, and let Notre Dame beat you twice, because anything can happen in college football. I think we've seen that recently. And then, now your main goal of the Mountain West gets at jeopardy. So I'm super excited for the boys. I know that they'll do a great job and get focused for this week. And, I'm excited to get into some of that Mountain West play and watch Boise do their thing, start stacking some wins, man.
Yeah. What was most concerning, Winston? I know you said you had the wedding. I'm not saying you were, watching every play 3 times there on video as you had the wedding for your boy, but the 12 penalties, some of the missed tackles, I think 17 missed tackles, Maddox Madsen, 4 interceptions. I mean, where for you was, I guess, most concerning, and what areas do you see, being fixable here moving forward?
Yeah, the penalties, just a little bit of that undisciplined play. That some of that stuff happens, and unfortunately, it's happened a couple times this year where, there's been quite a few penalties out there. I think Air Force was another one that we saw a lot of penalties. So we got to clean that up. Players have to play more discipline. I'm not too sure if that's something that they, are harping on from a coaching standpoint. I think it's just kind of one of those, I would almost say fluke deals. But now that it's happened twice, it makes you question some of that stuff. But BJ, I'd say the consistency, man, just overall play. From a defensive side, I think, they go out there, and although, in that first drive, Notre Dame trucks along the field, they protected the goal line, and they really rallied and had a great 4th down stop, goal line stop. And then later in the game, you see a little bit where it's a similar situation and you don't quite see that same result. And obviously, players are playing out there, but I think there's just a little inconsistency out there on the defensive side with the tackling, just getting 11 hats to the ball. I love Coach Chin's, he said, he wants to be down there with the guys, to hunt with the boys, and as a defensive guy, that's really what I'm looking at is, are there 11 guys, plus your coach on the sideline really hunting for the ball? And there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be missed tackles, but, sometimes missed tackles happen, and what you'd like to see is just another 2 or 3 guys right there ready to take out that ball carrier, and don't necessarily see that consistency, week in and week out. So defensively, I think just the effort and the mentality I'd love to see just continue to take a next step up. And then, limiting the explosive plays. The running backs did a great job over there at Notre Dame, and they also were able to, pick the defense apart a little bit in the pass game. So just got to clean up some of those explosive plays and then try to generate some more on offense. They had I love Mad Dog getting out of the pocket. I think he has a strength there where, the guy can take off and run, and he can throw on the move. And there was some unfortunate plays when you're down a little bit. You start pressing a little bit more, a little bit of that angst starts happening. And I think that's where some of those turnovers came in. So overall, BJ, I think just the consistency of the Broncos and really trying to find their identity out there. I think they're still trying to figure out who they are and what kind of team they have this year.
Vlad says, Winston, would you agree that a lack of discipline is a sign of poor coaching, or are you not free to say it?
I think I'm fairly free to say anything on here, but no, I don't. It's really hard to point a finger, right? And you know, a lot of guys think that if you take a guy out because you got a penalty, that changes something, and I'm just not too sure that type of structure, you know, limits a guy from, oh, well, I'm going to get taken out if I have this type of penalty out there. I think football is a high intense game that there's just things that happen. I would imagine going forward, there's going to be, it will get cleaned up because maybe there is an emphasis on it. But, you know, I think that's a hard thing for coaches to figure out how to clean that up, how to coach some of these, you know, these penalties that are happening out there. You know, some guys are a little less experienced than others, and you're going to have some offsides and some guys jumping. But it's just a really hard thing to put my finger on and figure out. Luckily, I'm not in that coaching world anymore. Don't have to figure that out or take the blame for it or whatnot. But I think it's a lot harder than people think to narrow that down. And like I said, sometimes you're just going to have those type of games, unfortunately.
Hey, before I forget, folks, our guests can see the chat, so I don't think there's any reason that anybody would say anything, you know, super negative at this point towards Jason Eck. I mean, he's doing a heck of a job there at New Mexico, and he's nice enough to come on the show. But just keep in mind that when we do have a guest on the show, they do have access to the YouTube chat on the side of their screen. So when Coach Eck comes on, you can feel free to, you know, compliment him or say good things or even take some, you know, good-natured shots. But just remember, I just wanted to throw that out there that, you know, we are making the chat. The chat is visible to our guests. We'll just keep that in mind when we do have a head coach of a team that's coming to town on Saturday. Come on. But I don't think and there you go. First comment. Coach Eck's a hell of a coach. So, yeah, that's the kind of stuff we want to see there, Winston. And I think our viewers and fans are for the most part smart with that, but just wanted to remind folks that he will be able to see whatever is in the chat once he comes on the show here. With that said, Winston, Surf City Bill wanting to know, should we be worried about New Mexico being a trap game? I guess meaning with UNLV next week, and that's a huge game, you know, could determine home field in the championship game and who gets to the championship game. I don't know if you can ever think of a trap game coming off of a loss, but what's your take on this possibly being a trap game?
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't say trap game would be the right way to view it, but I would say, man, that, and I've said it before, anything can happen in college football. I would be worried about every single game. I think you know, we mentioned it earlier, Penn State, UCLA. If guys don't show up with the right mindset, the right preparation, I mean, you can have FCS teams come in here and beat you. I think that's just the reality of 18 to 22-year-olds going out there and playing the game of football. There's a lot of talented, you know, young men out there playing this game, and a lot of talented coaches that, man, these guys, they stay up for hours and hours and put together game plans that they think are going to be successful. And if you don't show up, man, playing your A game every single day, you can get beat any single day. So I would say every game is, you know, you should be worried about, to be honest with you. And if you have that edge and you have a little bit of that angst in a good way, maybe you go out there with a heightened sense of urgency and get the job done. Now, with Boise State, I'll also say, you know, not every game has to be close. And there's, you know, history of us going out there and taking care of business. So don't get too worried. But I would say definitely, you know, have your eyes and ears open on anybody can beat us. And if you don't come out and show up, you know, you're going to have a L in the column there.
All right, we've been telling folks that if you give us a voicemail in the Signature Roofing voice inbox, Signature Roofing is giving away, Winston, a $500 gift card to Shields. A $500 gift card to Shields. On Friday, we're going to just draw the names of all the people that put a voicemail in the system. We're hoping to get this voicemail thing going, and I think it's a cool tool for folks who want to voice their concerns, thoughts, questions, you know, with a, you know, audibly instead of just putting a little message in the chat there. It's picking up steam. We got 3 or 4 again in the queue today. And again, we're going to go on Friday, maybe on the pregame show, actually on Saturday, so we can count Friday's voicemails. And then we'll draw a name of everyone that left one. And if you leave 2, I guess we'll give you 2, but I'm not going to give you like 20 if you leave 20 voicemails, but we'll give you, a couple spots in there. And then we will draw a name. $500 gift card to Shields will be on the line for everyone. That's courtesy of our friends over at Signature Roofing, online at mysignatureroofing.com. Whether it's a re-roof, a repair, an estimate, an inspection, you can do it online at mysignatureroofing.com. And I want to get to a couple of those here in just a second that are in the hopper before we get to Coach Eck. But first, I do want to thank a couple sponsors. RowPaint.com, our title sponsor. Make sure you check them out, folks. All your painting needs, whether it's those concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting, they got you covered. RowPaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. You see the 7 NIL deals with student athletes. They've got other, deals and things in place now. They're back on board with Boise State as an official sponsor. You see their logo inside the stadium, outside the stadium. Make the switch today. You'll never be happier. I love ICCU. So happy that our family and our business made the switch. Online at ICCU.com. Hey, Taco Bell, we got baseball practice tonight, flag football practice for the playoffs. We'll be hitting up Taco Bell tonight. TacoBellWorks.com, the SON Management Group, the Nicolason family. We appreciate them for their support of Bronco Nation News, and never a bad time to go get some Taco Bell for the family. There's the Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations, and they've done a lot in terms of, I think, $400,000 plus committed for the endowed scholarships for the men's and women's basketball team. So we appreciate Taco Bell. You guys can return the favor by visiting a Treasure Valley Taco Bell location today. Hopefully you're getting those trading cards. 1 in 10 chance of getting an autographed card over at Jackson's. Get those signature trading cards at Jackson's, $12.99. And don't forget, if Latrell Caples gets in the end zone, you get a fountain drink for 49 cents the next day on a Monday. Winston, not sure your relationship with Kamale Correa, but he was the guest last night on the Riley and Ridge show there at the James. That's sponsored by Jackson's. So appreciate Kamale Correa for coming on. Appreciate Jackson's. Make sure you go check out that episode. It is there on YouTube, and we appreciate Kamale for coming on. You can go to our Bronco Nation News YouTube, find that. We appreciate Jackson's for sponsoring that. The Blue and Orange Store, online, theblueandorangestore.com. Check them out online, theblueandorangestore.com, to order anywhere in the world, or if you want to get one of those new customized jerseys or one of the more than 4,000 hats on the hat wall, they've got it there at the Allen Noble Hall of Fame, the new location down there at Boise State. And get ready for Saturday's game with the best gear, the best prices, the best selection at the Blue and Orange Store, online at theblueandorangestore.com. All right, Winston, we got a couple voicemails, as I said, in the hopper here. When this starts playing, Winston, just give me a quick thumbs up or head nod that you can hear it okay and that we're good. But there's a variety of topics, a variety of things. And again, if you want to get entered in the chance for a $500 gift card to Shields, you just leave us a voicemail, anything Boise State related, what's on your mind. And we got 4 in the hopper right now, so we'll see if we can get to them before Coach Eck joins us here in 10 minutes. But let's start out with Brian S. Brian S., what do you got for us here?
Hey, BJ. Brian Strasser here. I just want to know why Boise State football is satisfied with a quarterback who is only good enough to beat bad teams. That's what I keep hearing, is he's good enough to beat bad teams. He's not going to lose the game for Boise, so they keep using him. And I wondered, is he actually good enough to beat bad teams? Last year, he won the Mountain West, but he had the top running back in the nation as his crutch. Can he really beat the bad teams this year without Ashton Genty?
There we go. There's his voicemail on Maddox Madsen. Winston, obviously a lot of talk about Maddox and the struggles in that game, the 4 interceptions, and obviously the head coach gets a lot of the blame, and then it usually goes to the quarterback in a game like that.
Yeah, he's in that position, right? Leader of the team, touches the ball every play. Obviously didn't have his best performance, and I know this is, talking about maybe some of the performances in the past or getting in that win column and who he may have had surrounding him. But I mean, bottom line for me is, the guy went out there, competed for a starting job in training camp. And, we're halfway through the season here, about to enter Mountain West play. And, you got to give these guys an opportunity. And the other thing I'll just say is, who's behind Mad Dog, right? He is the number one guy for a reason. And I'm not too sure that, Max is ready to take the reins. And I'm not too sure that's a move that the coaching staff is willing to do right now. I mean, can you imagine, benching a guy like Mad Dog right now and what that may do to the rest of the team. So I'd be very, sensitive with making that type of move. And week to week, I think that they probably, keep their eye on the development of other guys. But I would still say that, Mad Dog is probably the best guy to go out there and give your team a chance to win.
All right, Parker, what do you got for us, Parker? These are the Signature Roofing voicemails for a chance to win a $500 gift card to Shields. What do you got, Parker?
I think this coaching staff needs a wake-up call, because I thought it would happen after the Penn State game, after we committed a lot of penalties and just shot ourselves in the foot a whole bunch. I thought it would happen against USF after we committed a lot of penalties and shot ourselves in the foot a whole bunch. Against Air Force, 11 penalties in one half. And then against Notre Dame, a lot of penalties and shot ourselves in the foot a whole lot. So I think this coaching team needs a wake-up call, because we can't continue to be this undisciplined and expect to win any big games whatsoever. And then to be on a more positive note, this Notre Dame team was probably the best team we've played in a long time. They're only a couple of plays away from being ranked third or higher. So, yeah, it sucks we lost like this, but, we only lost 28-7. At least we didn't lose to an unranked team with 0 wins, and at least Notre Dame didn't put up 56 points on us.
All right, there you go. Appreciate it, Parker. The penalties, how is that? I mean, in the Notre Dame game, they also called, I think, 12 penalties on Notre Dame too, so I'm not totally excusing it, but some games refs just are a little more flag happy than others, Winston. But that is 2 out of 3 games with 12-plus penalties. When you talk about the Air Force game, as you said, in this game, is that on the coaching? How do you coach that? Who takes the blame for all the penalties? I think there were over 10 of the penalties, I think, in the last game were on the offense, and I think 5 or 6 were on the offensive line in terms of procedural penalties, false starts, a couple holdings. I think everybody but Cage Casey's been penalized multiple times this year, or at least in the last couple of games. What's your take on the penalties there that Parker was talking about?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think the coaches probably have plenty of their own wake-up calls, right? I mean, everybody's in this thing to win it. No one likes to lose. I think Boise's kind of been trying to seek some of these big wins over the last few years against some of these higher-ranked opponents and non-conference opponents. So, I mean, it's definitely something that's in their mind. And, they take responsibility to it. And I know that they don't like getting those losses, and they're really eager to get those wins. And, back to the penalties, I think there's different ones to look at, right? Like Latrell Caples, doing the best he can with high effort, to kind of give a player a shield block. Everything in his mind is, trying to get that one little block to free up his, tight end to go out for a couple extra yards. And I thought there was decent technique there, right? I mean, there's some rules within the game that make it challenging on these guys. So like a Latrell Caples penalty, that's a really, really tough one. But then if you talk about some penalties like, flinching on the O-line and offside penalties like that, I mean, these guys are drilling the discipline, and they're drilling, making sure they have an ear out and they know the snap count and they're not jittery, and they can handle the moment of a big stadium. So some of those ones are a little bit more of the player discipline, in my opinion, that it's probably coached plenty. And, I'm not looking to throw players under the bus, but players also have to be accountable, right? If you're, an offensive lineman and you're jittery and jumpy, I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a coaching problem. The player needs to be more disciplined in the moment, and maybe he's not ready for that moment, right? Maybe he's a little too geeked up and antsy and can't handle that. So the coaches have to assess that and put a guy out there that's not going to be in those situations. But like a roughing the passer, right? There's only so many ways to drill that, and I think players have to be disciplined to not hit a quarterback late. So there's just different type of penalties out there. So I would be more, intrigued of looking at the type of penalties that are going on, Latrell Caples versus an offsides versus a roughing a passer, back to like a holding call on a defensive back. Yeah, you can drill certain drills during the week. I mean, guys wear boxing gloves. They tie their hands up so they get into these better habits of not holding on to receivers. And that's definitely something that coaches implement. They have drills and techniques. Now, if there's a bunch of DBs out there tugging on jerseys, well, coaches have to assess that and start getting creative with the technique. So if that's not going down on a practice field, yes, I would say there's some coaching that can happen to help these guys with better technique. But once again, understand, man, you can't hold a guy as a defensive back and tug on their jersey. So got to just start figuring it out.
All right, I want to thank another group of sponsors here real quick before Coach Eck joins us, and then get your thoughts on New Mexico. But Coach Eck going to join us momentarily here, the head coach at New Mexico. Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game. We appreciate them for their support of Bronco Nation News. Locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Been around since 1978. They're part of that Boise State home team, whether it's a sauna, spa, maybe a dartboard. They got you covered. Pool table online at thespateam.com. Hey, Matt Bauscher Real Estate, number one ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher. Yet again, BauscherRealEstate.com is the web address. I know everybody knows 4 or 5 realtors in this town, but Bauscher Real Estate, appreciate him for his support of Bronco Nation News. You can check him out online at BauscherRealEstate.com. We bought and sold our home using Matt and his team. Tremendous experience. Again, BauscherRealEstate.com. Ridley's Family Markets, shop Ridley's.com. I know Johnny and Prater have been out there at Cuna, Middleton, doing some broadcasts from Ridley's. Really appreciate Ridley's Family Markets and just that feeling when you walk in. You just get that hometown kind of friendly atmosphere, family grocery store. It's not one of the big, huge chains, and you get great deals as well. Shop Ridley's.com. Find a location near you. Download that Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. That's Ridley's Family Markets. Hey, TCS, Transportation Compliance Service. Transcompservice.com is their website, whether it's DOT, overweight, all the permits and things that you need to get out there towing that first load in no time. Check them out at Transportation Compliance Service online at transcompservice.com. All right, your thoughts on New Mexico. Jason Eck, New Mexico, is going to join us here any minute. What's just your take on him trying to build that program? They haven't been to a bowl game in 10 years. They're 3-2, got that win over UCLA. What's your take, Winston?
Yeah, gritty. It looks like they're a gritty team. Like you said, 3-2. I know they opened up with Michigan and, put some points on the board. So, that new team is getting some experience. They're playing some other teams real tough. They got a, 3-game win streak and then just a tough one against San Jose last week. So, looks like, they're off to a pretty good start, if you ask me. And Coach Eck has got that program, off and running. So, like I said before, anything can happen, especially in Mountain West play. But those guys look pretty gritty. They got a couple tough running backs out there, and I know it's a new roster, so seems like they're building some chemistry pretty quick and getting some things done. So it'll be cool to see their growth and development in the Mountain West and see what old Coach Eck can put together.
If you do have a positive comment for Coach Eck, maybe a question, we'll see if we can get those answered here in the short time. But you're right. Big game on Saturday. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we won't waste any more of Coach Eck's time. Nice enough to join us here on Bronco Nation News. Coach, you got BJ Rains. We got former Boise State linebacker assistant coach Winston Venable, and we appreciate you for giving up a little bit of time. Busy week for you. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
Appreciate it. Heck of a start to the season, Coach. I know you're disappointed with how last week's game went, but 3-2 at this point. You got some momentum, the huge win over UCLA. I mean, how are you just feeling about year one here so far?
I think we're off to a good start. It was we're probably no different than Boise State. We probably both wish we had one more win than we have right now, but it was big for us to get a Power 4 win against UCLA. That hadn't been done in a while here, I think since 2008. We got a win against our arch rival there in New Mexico State, which was big, and we had great attendance for that game. I have visions of trying to do what Boise State has done, where you guys sell out every game, and so that was a good start just to get one sellout. That was our first sellout since 2007. So we're making some progress, but obviously have a great challenge this week coming up to Boise.
5 games in, Coach. I know we talked at media days, but just what for you has stood out about Albuquerque and New Mexico and this job and what you can do there, you think?
Yeah, I think I think the community has rallied around our team. I think they're supporting us. I think we've given them some evidence that we're doing things the right way and getting this thing going in the right direction. And I thought, just based on how they've supported basketball, that if we could give them some success, people would come out and support us. And I think it's going to be a process of rebuilding the program, but we're off to a good start and definitely have enjoyed our time here so far.
Coach, just a comment comment for you first. I thought the office piece you put together early in the year was pretty cool, man. Getting involved in the community and giving back to the kids. So love seeing that. And obviously, getting involved can really help the program. So hopefully that's turned out well, and you've had a bunch of youngsters out there. But I wanted to talk just real quick. Obviously you rebuilt program up in Idaho. Pretty successful there over a few years, and I'm just curious, man. Just going into year one, rebuilding a program, trying to build a culture, what does that look like for you in this NIL era and transfer portal era? I'm sure that there's some positives, some negatives to all that, but just generally, man, what are the challenges and maybe what are the positives being able to, tap into the transfer portal, but also, trying to build resources in this new era and have players that are willing to come, and, what are you really trying to establish there? And what's your pitch to these guys to try to get them to be a part of the program, if you will?
Yeah, Winston, that's a good question. Really a couple things. One, I think more than ever, with so many new players, we got about 75 new players on our team that weren't here last year. I think team building is more important than ever because you don't necessarily have your nucleus, coming back. So, we really spent a lot of time investing in relationships, getting to players to know other players, coaches to know players, coaches to coaches as well, because I think staff chemistry is really an important thing that helps you have success. And that was a big focus of ours, through the summer, through fall camp, that way. The flip side is I think it's a good time when you're trying to rebuild a program. It's good that we can sometimes bring in a lot of guys. I remember some times where you were limited to like 25 new scholarship players a year. And it was tough if you had attrition and things to even get to your scholarship limit back in the days where that's not the case anymore. And then, really, we just kind of sold them on a vision of, what we thought this place could be. We got a great metro market here. We got a great airport that you can fly in and out. I saw the support that the basketball team has gotten over time. And, some people caution me, well, it's a basketball school, but, I just have always believed America is a football country. The two most popular sports in America are NFL and college football. So people love that. And if you have success, I didn't think we had a apathetic, fan base that didn't care. They just, they care a lot about basketball. We just had to give them something to be excited about. So we're making some good progress.
Coach, awesome. A lot of positive comments coming in here, by the way. Boise State fans are, I don't know if they're buttering you up for the weekend or what, but they're saying Coach Eck is a hell of a coach, a lot of positivity. I mean, what you're doing with the program down there. You've been to the Blue a couple of times, I believe, 04 and 05. I think you were part of teams that gave up 65 and 70 points in those two games. So, not to bring back any bad memories, but I know you're hoping for a little different result come Saturday.
Yeah, my first game, like as a position coach, I was a GA for 5 years. And then my first game as a position coach was the O-line coach on the Blue in 2004. We finished strong because we scored the last 7, even though they were up 65-0. But I remember the game went so fast. I had been in the box all my years as a grad assistant. So just being on the field, everything was moving fast. And, they had put in some new things in the summer that they hadn't shown the year before. And, we kept going 3 and out, and then they were scoring like touchdowns 3 and out usually. So like, you barely had any time to make any adjustments in the sidelines. And it was a welcome to college football moment, surely. And then ironically, the next year we played them tougher. I mean, it was like 35 in the second half, and then they just pulled away from us. So hopefully we can be a little bit more competitive than my last 2 trips out there. It's been a long time though, 20 years. So
yeah. Well, yeah, sorry to bring up bad memories there, Coach, but I mean, you obviously have the Idaho connection. I know you would come on weekly with our boys, Johnny and Prater down here. I mean, obviously you've been recruiting down here when you were there at Idaho. I mean, you obviously know Boise very well. I mean, what, not to say you're coming in with extra motivation this week, but just interesting for you, I guess, the ties with Idaho and then now being in a big conference game for both teams. I mean, kind of I don't say cool for you, but maybe it is just unique, I guess, getting a chance to maybe for the last time in a while with Boise State leaving the conference, get to come back to the Blue on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a little unique because, obviously we have so many new players, a new staff. So even though it's a conference game, it doesn't really feel like a conference game because it's not, it's the last time we're going to play them. I think
till the championship, Coach.
That's right. I have a lot of respect for the Boise State program. And, that really goes back to, when I was a player at Wisconsin, they came out and almost beat us in 1997, had us on the ropes. And, then being an assistant at Boise and playing them and being in the same league, and we were both in the WAC together, I think they've been the gold standard, not just in the WAC or the Mountain West, for the last 25 years, but really in all of, group of five football, just the things they've been able to do, and, those Fiesta Bowl wins, then last year being the first team to go to the CFP. So, I think it's exciting to go compete against them. That blue field has really become kind of an iconic thing in the sports. So, even though it's not as, as big as like playing in the Big House this year, or, probably not the same length of tradition as the Rose Bowl, I still think, for our players, it's a thrill to go play and compete, against a team like that. And, we definitely know we got to bring your A game, when you go up there. I mean, you look at the records over the year and they win about 90% of their games at home. So they're very, very tough there. But, our players like to play in great atmospheres. I think most college football players are like that. You'd rather go play in front of a sellout crowd that's into it than go to a dull atmosphere. So, going to be a great, opportunity, and our guys are very excited. And again, we got a lot of respect for that. And, when I looked at our schedule to start the year, I thought, those were four really neat opportunities for our players to play in front of, the Big House, the Rose Bowl, Boise State. And then, I think UNLV's stadium doesn't have a lot of, history, but, it's an NFL stadium and so many players want to play in the NFL. So I think all four of those stadiums are really neat experiences for our players.
Coach, just going back to your, like you said, that nucleus, right, and kind of building that out. Now, I haven't done a full deep dive into your roster and coaching staff, but were you able to bring some staff with you and a few players? I know James Newby, heck of a player, but just some guys that know who you are, know what you're all about, that can, that maybe is that small nucleus in your first, start there, that can help with your messaging and building that culture the way you like to do things.
That certainly helped, Winston. The thing that that I have thought of, why maybe we've been able to have success earlier is having some of that same nucleus where we have 7 players who played for us at Idaho last season who were here. We had another 7 recruits who we had kind of signed to go to Idaho who ended up coming here. We have originally it was 5 assistant coaches. It's 4 now. Our D coordinator last year at Idaho was here for about a week, and then he got the head job at South Dakota State. So we lost him, but our strength coach came from Idaho as well. So, there was a lot of familiarity of guys who knew how we did things. And, again, we have, 3 of our 6 captains were guys who were with us at Idaho last year. So I think we definitely had an element of guys, knowing what to expect and how we wanted to do things, which, when I look back at it, I think has made it an easier transition here than when I first got to Idaho as a new head coach, having that.
Coach, just your journey to get to this point. I mean, I was looking at your bio and some of the stops you've been at. I mean, Winona State and Hampton and Western Illinois and Minnesota State. I mean, just you've obviously had to work and have a family that supports you, and just to get to this point where you're at. And I know you have, much bigger goals moving forward to keep building this program or whatever else happens. But just the life of a coach, I know, is not easy. And for you to kind of get to this point where you're the head coach of a Mountain West team now, and you're sitting here with a winning record and getting to come play on the blue turf on Saturday. I mean, you got to, I don't know if you ever have a free moment, to think back of just kind of where it started and how you got to this point, but you got to be pretty pleased. And it's been quite the journey for you to get to this point.
Oh, I'm blessed. And I know you got to meet my wife this summer at that. I got a great supportive family, and, we really are a football family. It's, we'll have all 5 of my kids on the flight coming up. Jackson plays for us at Mike linebacker, is doing a nice job. My oldest son is a student equipment manager, who works with the team, and then they're all in, and they supported me throughout that. I had 23 years as an assistant before I got an opportunity to be a head coach, and I learned something in all those stops. I worked for a ton of different head coaches, and I took a little bit from every one of those guys, but blessed to have this opportunity, and always had so much respect for the Mountain West Conference. Honored for this opportunity, and to come, when I was a first-year O-line coach, in 2004 playing there, I probably never envisioned that I'd come back as a head coach in this league, 21 years later, but it'll be an exciting moment.
A lot of Boise State fans are jealous of you, Coach, because you're running all these trick plays and this cool offense, and they're kind of frustrated that Boise State they want more creativity out of their offense. And they haven't run a lot of trick play, and who knows when. What is it about your? And I say that kind of jokingly, but I mean they are a fan of your offense and what you're doing there. What is it about your offense and the fun that you like to have and the creativity and maybe we'll see some more of that trickery back on the blue, but on the other side this weekend.
Well, we run, we kind of run trickery all the time. So it's not a real hard prediction to say that we're going to run a trick play because that's kind of what we do. And, I've just, I think those 23 years as an assistant, really crafted, my philosophy now being a head coach and you learn things. And I really, probably one of the coaches I hold in the highest esteem is Coach Peterson. He did such a great job and was such a creative play caller. And, I saw how those timely calls really helped them sometimes in games where maybe the other team, maybe Oklahoma was a little bit more talented, but, if you could keep them off guard and off edge, and then maybe they spend a little less time just, working on your base plays because they're worried on that. And, as I became an offensive coordinator, that's definitely something that I incorporated into what we did. And, Coach Schleisner, our offensive coordinator, we've been together. This is our 10th season together straight, going back to when I was the offensive coordinator at South Dakota State. So we're on the same page and like to do that. And, I like that fun. I think those plays are fun. The players like practicing them. They get excited when we call them and, they don't always work. We had one last week that went for an interception against San Jose State that we didn't execute quite well, but we got to practice those plays so much that we're ready for, anything they could give us in that. But I think we have a fun system to play in, and I like that fun.
Well, final thing or two, and we'll let you go, Coach. I know you're super busy, and we appreciate your time. But just your team, I know you got a heck of a quarterback. You got, you look down the stats and things. You got a lot of players near the, upper part of the conference in a lot of categories and things. Just for Boise State fans watching this that maybe haven't watched every second of you guys play this year, and they're excited to come to the Blue on Saturday night. What gives you confidence in terms of hoping to make this a competitive game and try to pull off the what will be a decent size upset here on Saturday?
Yeah, a couple things. I think Boise State really has a nice defense. You can tell, Spencer being a defensive coordinator in his background. I think they play very, very sound defensively. I think their D-line is very active. I think their secondary, those safeties are physical. McCoy had, that interception, that pick six he had against App State is one of the best breaks I've ever seen by a corner coming in there. So, we got to find a way to move the ball consistently. I think we're similar offensively, that we both want to run the ball as a starting point. And then, then when we don't run the ball well, which like happened to us last week, it gets us out of whack a little bit where we have to throw it more than we want to. And, last week we throw, 3 interceptions because we're throwing it more than we want to. And the same thing happened in our Michigan game where we didn't run the ball very well. And, I think that's similar to Boise. They want to run first and then set up the play action off of that and things like that. But, we got to do a good job of finding ways to move the ball and run the ball against them, against a very stout, good defense. I think we had to try to do a great job in the stopping their, run attack. Again, we have, we've been up and down with that this year with how we've, stopped the run. But, a lot of respect for their team. I think they have a lot of good players. And, I think they're, definitely, the most talented team that we'll see in conference play this year. So, it'll be a challenge, but I think we do have a lot of good players, and, they know this is a measuring stick game. This is a game that, if you want to be considered for being a, all conference type player, that's what you need to do. You need to play well against the best team in the league to prove that. So hopefully we'll have some guys step up, but we need to play a lot better than we did last week for this to be a competitive game.
Well, I know you went on Johnny and Prater's show yesterday, Coach. I saved the hardest hitting final question for last. I mean, Skyship wants to know, how can we finally convert ball game to Bronco Nation? Coach Eck, he won't let go of his Vandal stuff. We've tried. He comes on here once a week with us, and he'll still, wear the Corner Club shirt and everything else. What do you make of a Vandal like Johnny Ballgame trying to cover Boise State down here?
I appreciate Ballgame because I know we would have been picked last in the preseason poll if it wasn't for Ballgame probably rating us pretty high. So I'm appreciative of him, and I know that's tough duty. And I think I brought a little joy to Johnny's life because I think all those years where Idaho wasn't winning much, that was really tough for Vandal fans living down, in the Treasure Valley down there. So, I love my time at Idaho. I think that was a great place. I think it probably, it's a good move, I think, for both schools, just where it's at right now. They're in different conferences. I did think that I saw Boise's going to play Idaho State, which I just think is good for the state. I think those interstate games are fun, as a non-conference deal. But, it probably makes sense that Boise and Idaho are in different conferences. That was probably a mistake when Idaho tried to move up the first time when Boise did. But, I think obviously it was such an interesting rivalry because our old boosters at Idaho, were very, didn't like Boise State. It was a big rivalry, but like for the players, we haven't played whatever since 2010. I mean, they didn't even think about it. They never thought of Boise as a rival because you didn't play them. So, we'll see. It's an interesting dynamic there, but I appreciate Ball Game kind of, getting me on the show and getting us some pub for our fans down there when we were up there. So
I had to remind him, no gear in the press box. He likes to rock that New Mexico cap and some other stuff, when he's not on TV, but I told him he better keep that in the press, in the closet this weekend.
No rooting in the press box, right? That's a strict
We
rule
know who Johnny's pulling for deep down inside. Coach, we appreciate it. Best of luck the rest of this season. Been great to follow you guys. And I've watched more I'm not going to lie, Coach. Me and my wife have watched more New Mexico football this year than I've watched in the last, maybe my entire life, just because we got to meet you and get to know you a little bit down there at the media days and pulling for you. And it's been fun. And a lot of the game times have worked out where we've not been, busy when you guys have played. And so keep it going. Best of luck this season. Looking forward to Saturday and following you guys. And hopefully you guys can get to that first bowl game in a decade and keep that thing rolling down there. We appreciate your time, Coach.
Hey, thanks, BJ. Thanks, Winston. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks,
Coach.
Keep having fun, man.
There he is, Coach Jason Eck. What a guy there, Winston.
Yeah, man, real cool. Obviously cool opportunity to, for your platform and for us to be able to pick the brain a little bit of Coach Eck and doing a heck of a job. So that's pretty cool, man, being able to get the head man to carve out a little bit of time of his day for a little BNN live here, man. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and he's got the whole Idaho. I mean, they're playing next week in basketball, so maybe we save this for next week, Winston, because they are going to get back on the basketball court next Friday for an exhibition, Boise State and Idaho. They did announce Idaho State, as he said, is on the football schedule. It sounds like Idaho's coming back at some point as well. I mean, are you in the camp that, hey, because you played them, you got some great memories of that? Are you cool with get them back on the schedule? Or are you like, no, we should never play them again?
I mean, for me, I if you're going to schedule an FCS opponent, I mean, I'd rather take Idaho or Idaho State than Eastern Washington. I mean, unless there's, I think it'd be awesome to play one of the Dakotas just because they're, probably a scarier game just because they're, South and North Dakota State are well on their way to becoming FBS and they're no joke and they're big program. But if you're going to schedule an Eastern or, a Weber or something like that, and I'd just keep that thing in state, man. And I think that'd be pretty cool. Keep like Coach Eck said, I mean, it's a cool interstate deal. And yeah, man, I'm one of those old guys that got to play Idaho twice and learn about the rivalry and learn about how the old Vandals used to whoop on us. And then times change. So I'm all for it, man. I was excited to see Idaho State get on the schedule. And I know, Coach Dick, Jeremiah Dickey was, teased a little bit about Idaho. So we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, but hard not to root for a guy like Coach Eck. I mean, like I said, I'd never met him before the Mountain West Media Days last year. Him and his wife were down there, and they had a couple social functions, and it was great to chat with him. And I give Johnny Ballgame crap, but he knows him pretty well from when he was at Idaho, and he went up there, and I think he might even spoke to the team or something. I have no idea. I know he at least got him on the sidelines or something, but and I just heard about it. Always, great guy, and then you get to meet him.
Johnny speaking to the team. Johnny speaking to the team?
He might have, from what I heard. Wow. I don't remember. It might have been the one of their only loss that year, I think. I don't know.
I hope that's recorded. I'd love to see Johnny speaking to the team.
Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't remember. But, yeah, I know Jay Tuss spoke to C of I one time, and they went out and had one of their best wins of the season after that. So maybe John. But either way, I thought that, great guy. And New Mexico football, man, you talked about it. Not the easiest to rebuild there. Don't have a ton of NIL money. Albuquerque's not exactly, San Diego or Vegas or whatever when you're talking about bringing guys in on recruiting trips and flying them in over the desert. I mean, it's not the easiest place probably to recruit to. They don't have the money that some of these schools have. And for him to be 3-2 with a win at the Rose Bowl over UCLA at this point, I mean, hats off to this dude. He's doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, and even starting the season, going out into Michigan and I think they put up 14 points and they didn't get totally blown out. I mean, those type of things, having those kind of games on your schedule and coming from a coach with a background like Coach Eck has, I think coaches love to challenge themselves, and I know that he is rolling his sleeves up for his challenge, and a heck of a challenge it is. But it will be probably a pretty cool story a few years down the line when we, look back and he's able to talk about what he's built over there. So good opportunity to challenge himself and build something over there.
We'll see too, because I mean, he played at Wisconsin, started his coaching career there. Wisconsin may have a coaching change at some point here. I don't know if that's the sexiest hire for Wisconsin, is to bring in the New Mexico coach. But I mean, who knows at some point if he makes his way back home, if he keeps coaching like this.
Yeah, never know. Got to put up a good product probably in New Mexico first, but he's on his way.
Winston, final thing for you, man. Appreciate your time. Just this game on Saturday, it's a 7:45 game, kind of a later game, going to be a cooler evening, it looks like, on Saturday as well. You do have the afternoon game against UNLV, a monster game coming up next week. But at this point, got to win every game left, and especially at home, man. You got to protect the blue. They've got one of the top 5, I think, longest home winning streaks in the country right now, like 14-15. It's another sellout expected. I mean, like I said, as you said, you can't let one loss become 2 or turn into something bigger. And obviously an opportunity to get back on the blue on Saturday and try to get the ship turned in the right direction.
Yeah, protect the blue first and foremost. And then, if you can do it in a Bronco Foreman fashion, man, high effort, physical, aggressive play, discipline, and try to clean up some of those things. I think that would make everybody happy. But ultimately, put a win out there and do it the Bronco way, man. That's all I would be asking for if I have any place at the table to ask for anything.
Winston, what's going on before we let you go with all the things you have going on? I know the VSG Pro is taking off and what you got working there. And obviously now you're a certified NFLPA agent, as we said. What's new on all that front?
Yeah, there's a little bit of movement, man. There'll be some exciting things to share here soon. I won't share it right now, but there's a couple Boise State players that I'm working with right now, and one's got an opportunity to potentially go up north to Canada, and working on that deal right now. And then, as the UFL continues to shape and craft, got another player, a Boise State Bronco, that got some good relationships built with some UFL GMs and
Battlehawks. Better be the Battlehawks, man. Come on.
There should be 2 Broncos with some jobs here pretty soon. So I'm super excited about that. That news will probably come out over the next week or two. And, got another guy actually that people are well familiar with, and we're just starting to go to bat for him and try to find some work. So a lot of good things. I'll be happy to share some of that stuff a little later, but really, got 3 Broncos, man, trying to roll the sleeves up give them some opportunities to continue to play their football career, which is pretty exciting.
Well, if you want to send them to a winning team in the UFL, make sure it's the St. Louis Battlehawks, man. Come on now. Get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on the line. Get the deal done. And if you want to come on next week's show, I better not hear they signed with the DC Defenders or something. Come on.
No, I don't know if it's going to be St. Louis, but if it is, man, you'll be fired up. But
all right,
we'll continue to grind it out for him and try to get these deals done.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot for coming on, Winston, and we'll do it again next week, man.
All right, take care, BJ. Thanks, man.
There he is, Winston Venable. Appreciate him for coming on. Appreciate Jason Eck for coming on as well. Thank you to all of you guys for checking us out. We got a couple new recruiting articles up at BroncoNationNews.com. You can go read those. We got our basketball series going on, 10 questions facing the basketball team, and obviously a ton of coverage on the current football team as well, getting you set for the game on Saturday against the New Mexico Lobos. Johnny and I will be back tomorrow. Johnny and Mike Sanford have Ball Talk tonight, 8 o'clock Ball Talk. Got to be a paid subscriber of BNN to watch the show tonight, so go subscribe. Take advantage of our 30% off deal right now. You can subscribe and watch Johnny and Ball Talk tonight with Sanford. I will post that link in the VIP message boards there at BroncoNationNews.com. So if you want to watch that show tonight, just go to the VIP message boards at BroncoNationNews.com this afternoon. You can do that at 8 o'clock tonight. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you at 8 o'clock tonight for Ball Talk. Have a great day. Bronco Nation News Live, part of the all-new 24/7 Sports, BroncoNationNews.com.
And final blade of grass. Done. And done. Who knew it'd take 2,007 man hours to paint 47,962,053 blades of grass? Smells like game day. Whoa, it's not dry yet.